Welcome back to the PR Connections Marathon at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Boy, we had a lot of shows that we presented to you earlier in the day, and but there's still a lot to come. And so we took a short break so that we could come back. We've got two sports shows that are coming with my good friend Ian Rakelli. I'm going to be bringing him on in a second. We've got the business of giving. We've got Aunt Shirley's survival tips. Lots of great information out there for all of you to share and enjoy. By the way, if you're enjoying this marathon, please share it. If you're on YouTube, please share it. If you're on Facebook, share it. We're also broadcasting on LinkedIn. If you're enjoying this content, and there are other people out there who would probably enjoy it too, so I would highly encourage you to share these shows with others. You'd be amazed at how much people will appreciate you sharing something that you are enjoying with them. All right, so I'm going to bring my good friend Ian Rakelli. He's got a show coming up. It's the Sports Angle. Mr. Ian Rakelli, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing good, my friend. I mean, this marathon show has been incredible. I mean, you had so many fantastic shows on before me. There's going to be amazing shows coming on after me. So, yeah, this marathon show has been amazing. And, yeah, let's keep on doing it.
And you are a very active young man at prconnectionsradio.com. Will you share with the audience about these wonderful sports shows that you've created?
Of course. So the Sports Angle on prconnectionsradio.com. It can be a football-oriented show. It's a 90-minute show. I bring on, guests who are very knowledgeable about the world of football. Occasionally talk a little bit of hockey on that show, but it's mostly a football show. And, if you want to talk about picks, we talk about betting because we're in the sports betting capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. So when it comes to that show, the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, it's Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. But, yeah, it's a fantastic show. We keep on building. It's going up and up and up. So it's a good show.
Yeah, and I know, Ian, that you have a really engaged audience with that show. Will you share with the audience about your background as a broadcaster? Because you've been in this game. You're a young guy, but you've been in this game a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 15 years old, I picked up a microphone for the first time in high school. I was part of journalism and everything, and I haven't put the microphone down since. I mean, I've been, on multiple radio stations here in Las Vegas. So for about 10 years now, I've been doing broadcasting. I write articles. I'm on the journalism side. I've done voiceover work as well. So, when it comes to broadcasting, I'm kind of, multi-tool, kind of thing. I do a lot when it comes to broadcasting, but yeah, been about doing it for 10 years and hopefully I do it for 50 more.
Yes, and it really shows your experience and your savvy when it comes to broadcasting and the way that you present these shows, Ian. And what is it that drives you? Because you really are enthusiastic when it comes to sports. What is it about sports? Have you always just been a big sports fan? And is that what drives you? What drives you to create so much content?
So on the sports side of it, I have to give a lot of credit to my grandparents. They're the ones who raised me growing up. And my grandfather, he played baseball. I watched football on the couch with him on Sundays when I was 5-6 years old. So that's really where that started on the sports front. But when it comes to talking about sports and broadcasting sports, it's all about the fans. If you don't have fans, then your show doesn't exist without fans. So when it comes to broadcasting sports, I really think about, what's my audience going to want to hear? What does the audience need to know about the world of sports, and how can I get that to them?
Yes, well, you do a great job of that, definitely, Ian, with these podcasts. And I love the engagement that you have followers. You have people who are really, really into the topics that you cover. I love the sports betting element that you have with this. And I'm sure the audience out there is looking forward to learning more about your knowledge of sports. So I'm going to pull myself out of the podcast, and you are going to watch the Sports Angle with Ian Rakelli. Enjoy your show, Ian.
Hey, absolutely. No problem. And welcome to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. You know, the NFL season, the regular season, it's starting to come to a close. There's going to be some big news coming in the upcoming weeks in the NFL. You have the playoffs that are going to be on its way. But one aspect that really needs to be discussed in the NFL is the future. You know, what's coming up into the NFL. So, with 17 weeks into the year, we're going to take a look at certain aspects of the NFL. We're really going to ask and break down and analyze what is the certain things you need to know about the NFL 17 weeks into the year and what you can expect heading forward. And we're going to be talking about that here on the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio. So, when you're really breaking down the 2022 NFL playoff picture, there is 4 main questions that really need to be decided when it comes to the NFL. And really the first one is the precious first round bye. Because right now you have a dogfight. You have a back and forth right now with the Kansas City Chiefs and with the Buffalo Bills. You have a situation where the Kansas City Chiefs, they have racked up win after win after win. Patrick Mahomes, he has been the best quarterback in the NFL, and I feel like that's undisputed, that Patrick Mahomes for the last 5 years has been the man in the NFL. You lose Tyreek Hill, but Travis Kelce, he picks up the load. Jerick McKinnon, who is a low risk, high reward type of guy, he has been rewarding for Kansas City. You had a rookie in Isaac Pacheco, who has been solid in Kansas City. So with that first round bye, you could look at Kansas City and say, you know what, there's a solid argument to be made that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be your first round bye in the AFC. That the AFC is going to run into Chiefs Kingdom. It's going to run in Arrowhead Stadium for 2023 in the NFL playoff picture. But hold on, just wait just a minute. Because you have the Buffalo Bills as well. The Buffalo Bills are a counter to what the Kansas City Chiefs have been. Kansas City, for the last 5 years, has been the alpha. They have been the best in the AFC. Whereas the Buffalo Bills, they are still trying to prove they belong into the AFC Championship picture. The Buffalo Bills are trying to prove that they can end up be one of the best in the NFL. Because there's a lot of doubt, and reasonably so. But there is doubt that the Buffalo Bills can get the job done because the last few years, they simply haven't done it. We all know about their woes with Josh Allen, them losing to the Houston Texans in that brutal AFC wildcard game against the Houston Texans a few years ago. They go back the next year, they take on the Kansas City Chiefs, and they end up losing in that battle. And then you had a situation with the Buffalo Bills where, unfortunately, the Kansas City Chiefs beat them once again. So this is sort of a situation where the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs, they have been the 2 best teams in the AFC since 2018, since 2019. And Kansas City is trying to prove that they still have it. Buffalo Bills are trying to prove that they are better than Kansas City. So who will have the first round bye in the AFC? Who's going to be the team that has to run everything through in that conference? Well, the Kansas City Chiefs is going to be your argument. It's going to be my angle on this show tonight because of the fact that you have a Kansas City Chiefs team that not only in Week 18, the last week of the season, they have to go up against a team that really isn't going to give that much of a threat to Kansas City in the last week of the season, but you also have a Kansas City team who has been there. They have done that. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't have to worry about the expectations. What's going to happen is that he's going to go and do what he does best, and that is dominate the AFC. Hey, Joshua Bailey from Stay Tuned Live. What's up, my friend? I just want to do a little bit of a I want to do a little bit of a pivot real quick. Joshua Bailey, stay tuned live. He does a show on Tuesday nights. I've had him on my show in the past. I've been on his show. He's been on my show. He has a fantastic show. So I just wanted to very quickly shout out Joshua Bailey there. What he does is phenomenal. So on the AFC, the first round bye will be the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes will get the job done. He'll win Week 18, and Arrowhead will be what runs it. Now, the NFC is a lot more open-ended than the AFC. The AFC, it's really only between Kansas City and Buffalo. Cincinnati, there's a slim chance of them, but in all honesty, Kansas City and Buffalo, those are the main two. Whereas with the NFC, with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, it's more open. The Dallas Cowboys, they beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 16. The Philadelphia Eagles, they don't really have that tiebreaker. They really don't have that tight grip on a first-round bye like they had a few weeks ago. There's also the same Philadelphia Eagles team that doesn't have Jalen Hurts anymore. Their MVP candidate at quarterback, they do not have him at this point. Whereas the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, he has been an interception machine, but Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, that running back game has been solid. Offensive line, they're doing what they have to do. Tyler Smith, the rookie, has been doing a stellar job. And you have a receiver in CeeDee Lamb who's putting up top 5 production numbers out there in Dallas. I also want to mention that the defense in Dallas has been doing better than Philadelphia as of late and has actually been the best part of the Dallas team. The fact that they have a solid defense that can get them into a first-round bye. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles, the one advantage that they might have is their Week 18 matchup. Because you have a situation where in Week 18, you have Philadelphia and you have Dallas. But when it comes to the matchup itself, and you actually are going up head to head, side by side, you have a Philadelphia Eagles team going up against a New York Giants, that already locked up a wild card spot. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be going up against a team that could hypothetically bench their starters because the New York Giants already have that 6th seed in the NFC. Whereas the Dallas Cowboys, they're going to be going up against the Washington Commanders, and they are not guaranteed. They're still battling and scratching and clawing for that 7th and final seed in the NFC. So I would actually give the edge to the Philadelphia Eagles on this one because of who their matchup is in Week 18. I would have more confidence in a Philadelphia Eagles team than I would in a Dallas Cowboys. Now, I will mention, however, that because Philadelphia and Dallas are in the same division, there is a likelihood that this is going to be a NFC divisional round matchup 2 weeks from now. I will not be surprised if the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys end up meeting in that NFC divisional round. Whoever is the 5th seed, they take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have not been as dominant as they have been in the past few years. Whoever is that 5 seed, Dallas and or Philadelphia, I expect them to beat Tom Brady. I expect them to beat Tampa Bay, and then they will go on and they will face the first round bye. They will go on and face someone like Dallas and Philadelphia. So that's what my angle would be here, is that the person who's going to get the first round bye, it really doesn't matter because 2 weeks later, they're going to take on each other in the NFC divisional round. So as we are talking about the NFL playoff picture here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. Now, we've talked about who's going to get the top seed, the number 1 seed in the AFC and the number 1 seed in the NFC. But what we're going to do now is talk about who's going to get the final spot. Who is going to be that 7th and final seed in the AFC? Because right now, there are technically 4 teams that are in contention to do it. There are 4 teams who are mathematically eligible to get that 7th and final seed. You have the New England Patriots, who picked up a win against a team that they're battling for that 7th seed, and that's the Miami Dolphins. You also, at this point, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are battling for a wild card spot as well. And you have the New York Jets, who are competing for that spot. So you have 3 teams in the AFC East with New England, with Miami, and with New York. And then you have an AFC North opponent in Pittsburgh. So who will get that 7th and final seed in the AFC? Well, you have to really sit down and break it down on who their Week 18 opponent is. For New England, they have to go up against, New England, they got to go up against Buffalo. They're going to have to go up against a team that's trying to earn that first round bye that we mentioned a few minutes ago. So for New England, it's not going to be an easy road to be a 7th and final seed. The Buffalo Bills could very easily eliminate the New England Patriots from the playoffs. In fact, it's actually a realistic scenario that Buffalo doesn't rest their starters. They play Week 18. They try to get a first round bye, and they eliminate New England in the process. The Miami Dolphins, they're going to be taking on the New York Jets. So a Jets team that is 7-9, a Miami Dolphins team that is 8-8. This is going to be crucial in Week 18 because you have a Miami Dolphins team that's trying to hold on for dear life to get that 7th seed. The New York Jets are trying to end that season on a high note. They are trying to finish with an 8-9 record in 2022. So you have a scenario here where 2 of the teams battling for the 7th seed are going to go at it. You have one team that's going up against a team that's going for a first round bye. That's not going to be easy. So you want to know who kind of has it easy at this point? Who's going to be a team that's going to be in the catbird seat right now for that 7th seed? It would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. It would be Mike Tomlin, Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, that Pittsburgh Steelers team. They go up against the Cleveland Browns in the last week of the season. So when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I actually think that they have a good shot of getting that 7th and final seed in the AFC because of all the parameters and all of the obstacles that are going to be in the way for New England and for Miami. So for the 7th seed, it's not going to be New England. It's not going to be Miami. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. They will be the 7th and final seed in the AFC. Now, the good old NFC. Man, the NFC is going to be the toughest to go over. Because not only are there going to be 4 teams going at it, which is going to be true, but you have an NFC right now that you have layers, and I mean on layers of tiebreakers that are going to be established. Not only do you have a Detroit Lions team that's going to be taking on the Green Bay Packers, which means that 2 of the 4 teams we're talking about are going to be playing against each other. But you have a Detroit Lions team that just blew out the Chicago Bears. You have a Detroit Lions team that has beaten the Minnesota Vikings. You have a Detroit Lions team who has beaten the Green Bay Packers early in the year. So you have a scenario where the Green Bay Packers are actually sort of an underdog in this matchup as opposed to what the Detroit Lions have right now. In terms of momentum and in terms of what they have to win and what they have to lose, give me Detroit. Give me Detroit over Green Bay if we're basing it off of all those factors. Now, you also have a situation where the Seattle Seahawks, a team that a lot of people, including your host Ian Rakelli, thought back in August was going to be a bad team. I was not shy about the fact that I believed that they were going to be a bad team. They were not going to be a fantastic team heading into that point. So the way that I talked about it and the way that I looked at it was the Seattle Seahawks were going to be the number 1 overall pick. They were going to be a terrible, awful team. Well, Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker, Noah Fant, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. not only did they prove your host Ian Rakelli wrong, but they proved all of football wrong. So you had a scenario where, unfortunately, I was proven wrong, but I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. Not only do I have family out there in Seattle, but I've also seen the Seahawks fan base. I have seen the family culture that's out there in Seattle, Washington, and I'm happy to say that Seattle is one game away from being in that NFC wildcard hunt. So Seattle, unlike Detroit and Green Bay, in that scenario, you have a possibility where the Seattle Seahawks can determine their destiny. The Seattle Seahawks can actually pinpoint and be able to lock themselves in by beating the Los Angeles Rams in Week 18. Now, if you would have asked me earlier in the year if the Rams and Seahawks playing in Week 18 and there was a team trying to lock themselves into the playoffs, I would have assumed that it was the Super Bowl champion LA Rams that you were talking about. Whereas, as we all know now, the Los Angeles Rams have been one of the worst reigning Super Bowl champions in the modern era. So Week 18 is going to kind of be an easier road for Seattle. They're going to be taking on the LA Rams in that final week. And the Washington Commanders are going to be taking on the Dallas Cowboys. So out of all the matchups in the NFC, you have Detroit and Green Bay. They're going to knock each other out. You have Seattle. They're going to be going up against LA. There's going to be a little bit of conversation there. And Washington has to go up against a team battling for a first round bye. So using analytics and using probability, it would be a safe bet to say that the Seattle Seahawks would have an easier road to get that 7th and final seed based off of who they're competing against. But using tiebreakers and using the rule book the NFL has established, I would say that the winner of the Detroit versus Green Bay game, they have the absolute ultimate tiebreaker out of the 4 teams. So my conclusion and my angle is that the winner of Detroit versus Green Bay in Week 18, they will be the 7th and final seed in the NFC. And if I'm going to put my crystal ball, if I'm going to wear my tinfoil hat, and I'm going to make a prediction, I will say that your Detroit Lions will be the 7th and final seed in the NFC. Detroit will beat Green Bay for the second time this year, and Detroit, for the first time in years, will be a playoff team. Now, there's one last question that needs to be answered from NFL Week 17. And that is, who will get the number 1 pick in the 2023 NFL Draft? The NFL Draft is only going to be a few months away. It will be in Detroit, Michigan. And right now, the Houston Texans and Chicago Bears are going to be battling for that. You have a situation where the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans, there's going to be an opportunity there. Now, the Chicago Bears taking on the Minnesota Vikings, there's a possibility that Chicago Bears win that matchup, whereas the Houston Texans, they're having to go up against the Indianapolis Colts. So I will say that the Indianapolis Colts and out of the Minnesota Vikings, I think that the Houston Texans will not beat Indianapolis. So I have Houston as the number 1 overall pick. I have the Houston Texans winning the Bryce Young sweepstakes, getting the number 1 overall pick, and taking Bryce Young in that situation. So when it comes to the 2023 NFL Draft, I would say the Houston Texans will be number 1, and Chicago will be number 2. They will most likely get Quentin Johnston, the receiver from TCU, or if they're going defense, get defensive end Will Anderson from Alabama. That would be the first 1-2 to come from the same college since 2000, when LeVar Arrington and Courtney Brown were taken 1-2 out of Penn State. So as we've been talking about the NFL Week 17, here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, with your host, Ian Rickelli. I just want to very quickly give a little recap into what the games were for NFL Week 17. You had the Atlanta Falcons. They beat the Arizona Cardinals in a 20-19 result. So for any Georgia fans out there, you beat Ohio State by 1 point on Saturday. Then the Atlanta Falcons beat the Arizona Cardinals by 1 point on Sunday. So it's been a very good weekend for anyone who's a Georgia fan. Also, the Atlanta Braves signed Sean Murphy to a long-term deal. So it's a good day to be an Atlanta fan. You also had the Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, the battle for the NFC South. And when it comes to that situation, Tampa Bay ended up winning, locking themselves in. It was a great opportunity. And you also had the Detroit Lions. They beat up on the Chicago Bears. And you also had the Cleveland Browns. They beat up on Washington and ruined their chances of locking up a playoff spot. So, with all of that being said, when it comes to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, this was a fantastic show, part of the marathon show here on PRConnectionsRadio.com on New Year's Day. So this was another great show. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. I'm going to pass it back to Guy Dawson here. And I will say, have a great one.
Hey, excellent work, Ian. I know that you're really used to giving a lot of information in a short period of time. Excellent management of time. And yeah, the NFL is going to get really fun over these next couple of weeks. You have me inspired to sit around and check out more of the games.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Keep doing what you're doing, man. PR Connections Radio. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ian, for being a part of the podcast today. And I'm going to remove his banner really quickly. There it goes. All right. So you got a little taste of what the Sports Angle is all about. Of course, Ian Rickelli will be back in a couple of hours. He's going to be doing Vegas Hockey Hub, which is another excellent show. I think you're really going to enjoy. And so we're moving along in this marathon. For those of you who've been hanging around, bouncing in and out, hey, we love having you here. We hope you are enjoying the experience. We have a lot of different types of shows on the network, and that's one of the things that we aspire to do, is that we want to give you variety in the programming that we offer. And again, we're so thankful to be in this digital age where we can create networks very similar to the ones that, for those of us that are old enough to remember, when we only had regular networks, we are able to do exactly what the larger networks are able to do on this video platform, literally to provide you with quality content across many different platforms. And later on, I'll be talking about some of the new shows that are headed to PR Connections. But again, that's what this marathon is all about, giving you a taste of the new media and what this represents. And it allows people like Ian Rickelli, who's got fantastic information, very knowledgeable about sports, and he can take it directly to the people. I know Ian talks about the fact that he is the sports reporter for the people. And that is the power of social media, is that it allows us to take our messages directly to the people. And it's empowering. And this is what our future is all about. And that's why we're hosting a podcast like this today. I have a second podcast that is going to be coming on in just a second. And this podcaster has been a good friend of mine for many years. She is an inspirational person. Oh, I think she accidentally dropped off, and I'm sure she'll be back in just a second. But Shirley Sanders inspired me many years ago when I saw that she had an interest in becoming a writer. And at that time, Shirley was 80 years old, and I met her at an event. I was representing a client doing a book signing for a public relations oriented event many years ago. And Shirley approached me at that time, and she says, "Young man, I want to work with you on something. I'm going to write a book. And when I get done writing the book, I want you to come and help me with the promotion of it. And she took my business card. She says, give me my business card. Give me your business card. So I handed her my business card and didn't really think very much about it. Several years later, I get a phone call from a lady and she said, I'm ready to write my book now. Or actually, my book is completed and I want you to help me with the promotion of it. And that struck up a friendship that Shirley and I have had for many years. And I'm going to bring her in to the stream. Hello, Aunt Shirley.
Well, hello, Mr. God Dawson.
Thank you so much for being a part of our marathon today.
I'm very excited about it. This is my first time, and I plan to knock it in the field.
So will you tell the audience tell us, well, I was just telling them about how we got you and I, our relationship started when you wrote your first book at the age of, it was 80, right? Is that when you wrote your first book?
That's right, 80.
So what made you decide to write a book at the age of 80?
I think I had a lot to say, but I was so busy. I had kids, a business, and I was running. And then at 80, I was not, I think, and my daughter gave me a book about my life. And I had no idea I had done that much in my life. And when she gave me this book, it made me decide, oh, I can share this with other folks. Maybe I need to write a book. And that made me start. And I have written 3 books, actually 4 books.
4 books since the age of 80. Between the age of 80 and the age of 91, you've written 4 books.
And I have 2 that I'm working on now. Then when I have time, I don't rush. I don't sweat. I don't rush about nothing. Because I'm a nanogenarian now.
Yes, creeping up on the century mark. And so recently, Shirley approached me and said, I have a dream, guy. I have an aspiration. I want to become a podcaster. Yes. Can you help me with some of the technology related to podcasting? And tell the audience, Shirley, what inspired you to want to now become at the age of, well, I guess you were 90 at that time, but almost 90.
I was 90, yes.
You were 90 years old and you decided that you wanted to become a podcaster. What inspired you to do that?
I can tell you exactly what it was. I decided that at this age, all of my friends that was in their 90s, which was nanogenarian, which is what I am, and I didn't like the idea that dementia was crooked around. I had to do something to keep my mind really clear, work hard, and use my mind every day. And I couldn't think of anything. I do puzzles every day. I want to do something else. So I had a lot of experience. I was born early enough to live without electricity. And my mom was a good, very good woman. She taught me so many skills. And when I decided I could share these before I go, and it'll give me something to do every day. So here I am. I want to share I have a video, and it's called Survivor Tips from Shirley. And I do have quite a few tips, and I've experienced them too. And now that's where I am, doing a podcast here, and I'm grateful.
Yeah, it's so wonderful, Shirley, to watch the knowledge that you share when you do these videos, surviving tips from Aunt Shirley. I mean, for many of us, having not lived as long as you and had the experiences that you've had, the world was a much different place back in the 30s and the 40s when you were a young person, right, as compared to what we're living with now. And the wisdom that you share with us is, I know that we all really enjoy it.
Thank you. I enjoy doing it. I'm excited about today, and I'm planning to really, really reach a lot of people that I can help. Because the name of my channel means I will be helping. Survivor Tips from Aunt Shirley. I'm so excited, and I'm just ready to do a whole slew of videos. That's where I'm at right now. And I just told you I'm a nanogenarian. I flaunt that also because I'm 91. I'm almost 92. In 4 months, I will be. But I got to get there first before I can claim it.
Yes, it's an absolute blessing for us to get glean this wisdom that you've had, all these different experiences over the course of your life, Aunt Shirley, and to be able to present that via a podcast, which is like the cutting edge of the way that people receive information. It's just amazing. I would imagine for you, having grown up in the Depression when technology was almost non-existent, to where we are now, where you and I are not even in the same room, and you are going to present your own podcast by yourself, and the whole world is going to be able to watch this.
I feel so blessed. I believe in God, and I know it was not for God, I wouldn't be this far. And I'm grateful for all the things that I've achieved, and I think I'll continue achieving if I just live right. And I want to have others folk live the same way that I live, because I enjoy every day. I get up in the morning, I'm just ready to go. I'm not a mean person. And you need to learn how not to be a mean person, because a lot of time when I think that you don't need somebody else, you need somebody else. It's just easy to learn how to live in this world, because it's a different kind of world now. It's so different. Prices are higher, and you can't afford the prices. And I feel like scarcity is another one. Food is not there like it used to be, because the water system is different. The water situation is different. The atmosphere is different. So we have to learn how to be different. You can't live like you used to, because we were so wasteful, just didn't live right, and didn't treat each other right. So I think someone have to start. And I felt like if you're going to make a change, start with yourself. I'm starting with me. I feel like if I could do right, I could show somebody else how to do that. And that's what I want to talk about today, how to change the way you live, how to downsize so you can not be so wasteful. Why would you be wasteful when you don't have to? Because you see how things are when you go to the store. What are you going to do when you go to the store and then nothing's going to be on the shelves? What are you going to do? I've learned how to live like that. I want to share it with you. Now, this is not for everybody. We all different. But I do believe there's enough people in this world that will listen to what I have to say, my tips and my sharing and my way of life that I live. I feel like it would be a better place for people to live in this world. And we need, like I said, start with yourself. Be nicer to people, because you don't have to be mean. It's just such the world now with the political, I don't know what you might call it, but it's different. I don't know what you call how we get along, how we do things. It's such an upheaval. We need to learn how to make a difference. And you start with yourself. If you don't start being kind to your neighbor, be kind to your neighbor. Be honest and don't lie. And it's so many things that you could do for your community. Do things in there to help them. And once the community grow, it'll go out further. I think that some of the things I want to tell you today will make a difference in this world. Like I just said, it's not for everybody. I'm pleased to know that I have this experience.
Yeah.
And one of the things,
and Shirley, how about this? I'm going to get out of here.
Okay.
I'm going to remove myself, and then you can go on with your podcast. How's that? Because this is survival tips from Aunt Shirley, not Guy and Aunt Shirley. So I'm going to move myself out.
I wasn't going to kick you out. I love having you here, but if you want
well, I appreciate how polite you are, but I'm going to politely remove myself. Everyone, please enjoy survival tips from Aunt Shirley.
Thank you. Thank you. First thing, I want you to know that I'm a Christian woman. I believe in God. Had I not had the belief and faith in God, I don't think I would have been here today. But I have that faith. And you can too, because everybody's not going to believe in the Bible. I do. I had good parents. They taught me how to live and let live and share and not be mean and hateful. And there's 2 laws in this land. One law is the Constitution. That's the laws of the land. Then they have the laws of the Bible, which is the Ten Commandments. They're pretty much the same. Because one said, thou should not kill. Another one, the Constitution say the same thing. But how many people know about the Constitution? How many people know about the Ten Commandments? If we lived by the Ten Commandments, it wouldn't be so much evilness, so much hate in the world. I wish it was a way that we could get out there where everybody in the world would know about the Ten Commandments, how you should live and how you should treat your fellow man. That's one of the main goals in my life, that I will be able to share what they tell you and how to live. And in case you don't know where that is, you can go to, in the Bible, it's called Exodus. And I want to make sure I tell you the right chapter. Because like I said, I'm a nanogenarian. I don't remember everything. So I do have it here. Exodus in the Bible, 20th chapter. And it's from 1 to 17. Well, let's read the whole chapter. It's only 26 in there. Let's read the whole chapter. And I think if we live by the Ten Commandments every day of our lives, we would have a better world. And that's one of the first changes I hope that we can make in this world where it become better. Because right now we have climate changes. We have a scarcity, which is not enough food. We have water that's not in the right places where we think it should be. Anyway, I think doing those things, we need to just really, really understand that we have to change. The world is changing, so must we change. We have to change because we can't keep living like that. And you can do, like I said, start with yourself. And I know one thing that I have been able to do is just live a clean Christian life. And I'm hoping that other people will learn. One of the things also, we have to stop being so wasteful. That's a tip. Stop by. Do you need 25 pairs of shoes? Maybe not. Maybe you do need them. I don't know. But if you would take some of those shoes and share with the homeless, and you need, like I said, downsize. Downsizing is, take some of the things out that you have. Everybody don't have a lot of stuff. I've had to downsize because I end up buying stuff and people give me stuff. A lot of things I would just get things and end up with too much. So, no, if you have a lot of clothes or a lot of extra stuff you want, try to find out how you can share with someone that don't have as much as you have. I think it's a good thing. As long as you do that, you're going to always get back. Because when you give out and share with other folks, then it'll always come back to you. It's never failed with me. I have been able to really just live. Like I said, I lived early when they didn't have all the things that they have. I've always had to be very careful how I spend. And I had a big family. But like I said before, I had good parents. And I learned how to share. We did that. So we need to come back to that now and learn how to be kind to your neighbor. We did that, I think, in one time, but just come back to that now if you can. I don't know how we get all this out, but I think if one person would just share what I'm saying, then I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to get the word out that we need to change because the time is changing. And I know one thing too. Another thing I know is that gluttony is always harmful. It is. It's harmful because sharing is one of the things that we serve God through that. And we only serve God through helping others. That's one of the things that we can do. Another thing I would like to also stress, go in your house and get out things that you don't really, really need. Just get things out that you don't need. And don't particularly throw them away in the garbage. Share it with somebody. And actually, they have places that you can, I can't think of none of the name, but you can find people that would take items for people that don't have, for the homeless, give to the homeless, give to the Goodwill. The Goodwill, sometimes they sell a little high. They have other homes, but if you don't, that's the only place you can take it to. In your neighborhood, do that. But they have places that battered women need to go to. They don't have a thing. They go there and nothing. So these are free items. And if you don't want to just say, I paid $200 for these shoes, I'm not giving them the wood back. Okay, go to the consignment store, sell them. And what you could do with that, you could sell them at the consignment store, and with the money you get from that, you can get items to store food in, because you're going to need to store food for future use. So if you sell your old clothes that you don't want to give away, you help them yourself. I know some of the things that we need to have, and I want to talk about how you can save for the future. And there's so many ways you can do and be safe. And I want to talk about that right now. Before you go out and do anything, you got to know how to save items for future use. You got to know what products. You got to know what products to buy, what to save. And I'm going to go over just a little bit for you, because my time is not long enough to show you how to do it. But these are some of the items that you can use. Now, for instance, that's my dog Louie. He wants to get on the couch too. But I think he got to go outside right now. But Louie's been with me for 15 years, so he's kind of got away in his house. But anyway, let's go back to my podcast. I want to talk to you about water. Like, for instance, water is shortage. Our lakes are drying up, and then some places there's too much water. So we're going to have to figure out how to save some water. You go to the store and buy all this water, and then when you drink it all up, there's a way you can do to save the ones. When I get some juice from the store, let me show you what I do. Now here's a juice bottle. And when I empty this bottle, I wash it out real good. I clean it real good. And then I fill it back with tap water. And then you can put a few drops of water purifier in there. And you got some water. You can save this water. And make sure that it's not for drinking, because you need to comb, you need to wash your hair, you need to brush your teeth. You need to do something so you don't have to use your drinking water. You use this and put on your tap water so you know that's not drinking. This is what you just bathe in if you have to. Because maybe it's a water sport. You have all this. And this is a way, that's one way you can save. And I don't know why they won't bring, get his I'm sorry, he tried to do the podcast too. That's Louis. Will you put his tag on lease on him? There you go. Check him out. Okay, he wants to run the show. I'm sorry. That's Louis. So, okay, you got about the water. This is going to be put away for you to save when you need water. Wash your face, wash your hands and stuff, and save your drinking water. Okay, you got this saved. Every time you empty a big jar like this, use the tap water, and you got water saved. Do that make sense? I think it does. Now, there's another way you can help yourself too. What I need to do is let you know, save food for yourself. Rice, beans, flour, sugar, all those things you need. And especially beans, because they are protein. And protein is necessary for the body. All of that is necessary. But I want you to know how you can do that. Let me show you how I do it. I can't show you the whole video, but I want you to go online and find out how to save beans, rice, sugar, all that for long-term storage. That's a safety measure for as I'm concerned. I try to save as much as I can. But being 92, I can't run to the store every time I need something. So I can, when I put my stuff away, it'll last as much as 10 years because it's the way you have to do that. So it's not just that you put it up on the shelf and it's it. When you buy stuff, it's already dated. If it's dated for 2 years long, it's too weird. But there's another way that you can do. And I want to tell you about how I do my rice, my sugar, my bean. You use buckets, plastic buckets, and the bucket should be food grade saving buckets. Here's I bought a little one here. You can get them 5 gallons, 3 gallons, 2 gallons, whatever. This will hold rice, sugar, beans, all that stuff. You need it for later. Now, always have a gamma seal top. You see? You see how this is made? It's 2 parts to this. You're going to put this on the gallon. This is for 5 gallons here. They have 3 gallons too. And what you do is you put this on here. You have to seal it really well. And the way you seal it, you take a mold or something and make sure it's down there. Then you put this on top. You put this on top. This is called a gamma seal lid. And the reason it's here like this is you put that on first. Put whatever you want. Like for instance, like rice. You're gonna put some rice in here. What you're gonna do is put the rice in. First, you will put the bay leaves. Use bay leaves because they keep the pests out. They hate bay leaves. So you put so many bay leaves and you put so much rice. About halfway, you put some more bay leaves and put some more on top. And if it's beans or whatever, you're going to need to have I got this here to show you. It's called a oxygen. Oh, wait a minute, this is not corn. I'm thinking about. It's called an absorber, oxygen absorber. Oxygen and air and heat is what makes food sour, warm. So this takes the oxygen out and it's safe. It's safe a long time. When you go in with this gamma lid, you put it on and you drop some of these in it. They take all the extra oxygen out because you're fooling around with it and you're opening this gamma lid. You can put this and open it. See, you can open it up and get out what you need to use. When you take that out, you close. Before you close it, you drop one of these there, absorber. That's what that is. You put that in there. Now, you save for a long time. Now, if you don't want to use that, they have something called Mylar bags. And these Mylar bags are wonderful. They have all sizes. They have them in quarts. They have them in quarts, gallons, and little pints, I think. And here's what this is. This is a Mylar that some factory made, but you can do the same thing. And what makes this so nice is the way you do it. And they tell you the instruction. I don't have time to show you all that, but I want to make sure that you know that you can store for. This is chili. You can make all kind of stuff in here, and it lasts 5 to 10 years or more, depending on what it is. Now, this, you don't have no big place outside. Empty some of them drawers that you have. You don't need all them clothes, and just fill this with food, and you're safer. That's a tip I hope you listen to, because it will save your life when you need food that's not in the store. That's my whole thing for you today. Now, I hope that something that I've said will cause you to listen to me. And I will be having many, hopefully the Lord let me stay here long enough to be able to tell you about how to save food for yourself. And my channel is called Survivor's Tip from Shirley. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook also. And I want to thank PR Connection Radio for inviting me today. And I hope that I have been some help. And I hope to see you later. Please subscribe to my channel and share. Call me and look and be sure that you make sure that you subscribe to my channel because I'm doing the best I can. I think I'm doing all right. I'm pretty pleased. I think I'm fighting Alzheimer's, and I don't have none of them. I'm trying not to get them. And I want you guys to have a very, very, very happy 2023. 2023. I've said it. Thank you and goodbye.
Wow. Very well done, Aunt Shirley. Great practical information as always.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel excited.
Where do you come up with the concepts for these podcasts? How do you come up with the content?
Just plain everyday living. This is the way I live. And it's easy to share that. I do when I tell you something, I've already done it. And it makes it easier for me to just go ahead and talk about it. And I'm excited because there's so many things. I mean, I've lived it because I've lived a long time. I lived a long time. And I do have more experience than a lot of people. So I should know a little bit more about certain things now. There's some things I'm not computer savvy, but my daughter fixed that up for me. Thank God for her. She helps me to keep going. And I want to hurry up and get some, because now it's getting to be winter time. And I have some things that people need to be doing now. I want to get my videos out. I want you to listen to help me share this information. I think it's valuable. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. It is valuable, Aunt Shirley. And again, I applaud you for being willing to deal with the technical aspect of these podcasts. And I know you and I work very closely.
Yes,
there's a lot of technology that goes, again, this is very far removed from Mississippi in the 1930s.
That's right.
What you're experiencing, but just your willingness to take on the technology and to give it a shot. And because it allows you to be able to do what it is that you're doing, which is helping people, keeping your mind sharp. I want to encourage other seniors out there that, right, you're an inspiration to a lot of seniors.
That's what I would like very much to do, because I feel like that it's not for everybody. Some people would not want to be involved, so we just go on to the one that do. And I'm very proud of being able to do this, and I thank you for helping me, because if it wasn't for you guys, I would not be able to do all this stuff. Sometimes you give me the good inspiration to keep trying, and I'm glad that I know you.
Right. Yeah. Aunt Shirley, again, I just, you want to share this information with the world. And
Yes.
These are good practical things that the average person just would not probably learn, except from someone who's experienced a lot. And so everything about what you're doing here, Aunt Shirley, I support. Oh, the one other question I had for you is, you're building a pretty good following of people out here.
I hope so.
Who are tuning into your podcast. What kind of questions do people ask you about these different survival tips that you share?
Some of the things they've asked me is, how did you remember all this? How do you remember this stuff? I can't answer that one, because a lot of times I don't remember. Then later on it comes back to me. That's the life cycle that I'm in, because I'm at the end of life cycle, and you don't remember as much. I write stuff down, and that helped me, because I have to write everything down. Otherwise, I would forget it. So maybe I should give them a video on that, making sure you be responsible for what you have to do every day. If you don't write it down, you won't remember. And I do write stuff down, and I don't always follow through. But basically, most of the time I do, because I know what I'm going to do. And when I get up in the morning, I know what I'm going to do first, second, and third. You have to have a routine about yourself. That's what you have to do. And you don't do it. If I miss my routine, I'm kind of messed up for the whole day. So I do I've got a calendar on the wall so I can see when I'm, easy to open the door. There it is. So that helps me to fight dementia. That's what I'm trying to do. Don't think I have it. I don't think so. I'm thankful to the good Lord I don't.
Right. Exercising your mind.
Yes,
It's keeping
that's
your mind active and continuously challenging, stretching your mind. So you trying to figure out technology is a great way to stretch your mind. There's so many different ways that you can stretch your mind. Some people do it by learning new languages because it makes your brain have to work.
right. And I do Tai Chi. I do that. That helps me to keep my bones and my muscles and my mind all clear. And Tai Chi is wonderful, a wonderful thing that I've done that for quite a long time. And I'll try to keep doing it as long as I can because I sometimes have trouble with vertigo. But if you do the Tai Chi, that helps you understand and keep you limber. I'm not limber anymore. I was, but I think I'm better. I walk alone. I don't have a crutches or nothing. I don't have a. I probably need one, but I don't have a cane because I can walk without it. And I have a good appetite. I sleep very well. Oh, I can sleep, and then the Tai Chi give you good balance also. I'm grateful. I just think I'm just in tune with the earth, and I just feel great. I do feel
Yeah.
blessed also.
Yes, absolutely. You're a blessing to all of us, Aunt Shirley. And just one more time before I let you go, how can people get in contact with you to watch your YouTube? Of course, here at PR Connections, we share Aunt Shirley's shows, but she also has her own YouTube channel. Do you want to share that again?
Yes, I do want to share. It's called Survivor Tips from Shirley. I should have said Ain't Shirley, but everybody know Ain't Shirley's in there. I was trying to make it short so we wouldn't have to write on in there. Survivor Tips from Shirley. And I just hope you watch my channel, subscribe to it, and ask me questions. Send me things that I would be able to okay. Just send me things that I could if I need to answer questions or whatever you want to give me some tips. My tips is my tips. If you want to give me some tips, I'd like to hear those, and it might be some things I can put together and also share with the world. But I'm excited about being able to have my own channel, Survivor Tips from Shirley.
Yeah, keep up the great work, Aunt Shirley. And again, we greatly.
Aunt Shirley. Aunt Shirley is what everybody call me. My neighbors and everything. I got the best neighbors in the world. They call me Aunt Shirley. Some call me Nana. That's fine too. But
we love being able to share your wisdom over here on this network, Aunt Shirley, and just keep up the amazing work.
Yeah, I want you to see more of me, and I'm gonna work hard that I stay up there and help people because this is helping me. Good God gave me the ability to do things that I could help other folks. It's gonna help me too, and I'm hoping that many people that saw me today, subscribe to my channel. I need your help to get that out there. And the more I help you, the more you can help somebody else. The world will be a better place, and that's the purpose of my channel: making the world a better place to live.
Yes, you are committed to that, and that's why we greatly appreciate you, Aunt Shirley. And yep, look forward to seeing the next podcast from Survival Tips from Aunt Shirley. Thank you, Shirley.
You. Please go to my channel, Survival Tips from Aunt Shirley, and I want to thank all of you for listening.
All right, thanks for being a part of the podcast, Aunt Shirley. All right. So there you go. You have a woman who just began podcasting at the age of 90. For those of you out there who've been thinking about having a podcast, and I know there are people out there who are considering this, you have to be inspired, right? By watching her get in here and actually creating a podcast. So we're always looking for people who have interesting concepts that they want to share via podcast. We have many shows, but if you have some type of a unique idea that you think the world could benefit from, we'd love to at least have a conversation about you potentially creating your own podcast. And I know from my experiences working with Shirley, one of the things that holds a lot of people back sometimes from sharing their information is the technological aspect of it. However, there's ways to work around that. Like Shirley had mentioned, I've been working with her for quite a while to show her how to manage the technology. So you don't necessarily need to know everything. It's just a matter of how badly do you want to share your story? How badly do you want to get the information out to the world that you have inside of you? I think that the podcasting world is very similar to authors. And so being in PR for many years, I've worked with a lot of authors, people who've written books. And I find that when I work with authors is that inside of them, they've got some deep, strong message that it's important for them to share with other people. And they are just, by writing a book, they're creating a platform to be able to deliver that to the world. And podcasts are very much similar to book writing, only it's much easier to develop a podcast than it is to write a book. You really just have to have an internet connection, some type of a device. It doesn't even have to be a laptop computer or anything. Nowadays, you have a lot of people out there who manage full podcasts all on their phones. So with an internet connection and some type of a device and an idea, and there you go. I mean, you literally can create content that you can distribute all over the world. It's not a very expensive way to express yourself. So I always want to, send encouragement to those of you out there who may be thinking about creating a podcast but haven't done it, is that you can do it. As we saw today, Dana Wall Oakley for the first time delivered a podcast. And you don't have to be some super technically advanced person or a star in order to be a star in the podcast world. And that's a lot of the reasoning behind this network, why I developed it, why I thought that this was something that would benefit a lot of people, is that in the traditional media, and I know I've touched on this several times during the marathon today, but it's just the truth. In the days of traditional media, you only had a few channels where people could share information. Very, very few. And of course, you had to be a big, wealthy company in order to be able to manage a studio or to be able to manage a channel, to be able to reach the masses with your content. One of the wonderful things about all these social media platforms in the world that we live in today is that it has created the ability for all of us, individual people who don't have some big background necessarily in journalism or broadcasting or a huge budget to be able to create content. It's enabled us to be able to do the exact same thing. And through social media, we have the ability to be able to reach just as vast of audiences. For those of you out there, well, most of you, you're going to be watching this on a social media platform of some type. We also have these archives, by the way, that are available at our website, prconnectionsradio.com. But for the majority of you, you are going to be watching this podcast either on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. And these are platforms that are absolutely free. They're available to everyone. And you as a podcaster have access to all of these audiences. You're talking about hundreds of millions of people who are involved in social media, have platforms and pages. And so again, I guess this is like me championing podcast dreams. Because just like Aunt Shirley shared about a couple of minutes ago, there are a lot of reasons why a person decides to create a podcast. Sometimes it's just you have this great information and you want to share it with other people. Some people, it's purely about you're in business and you want to show people the expertise in what you do. A great way to do that is by having a podcast that expresses your expertise. Or you could be like Shirley had mentioned, you just want to keep your mind sharp. You just want to engage in an activity that keeps you focused and keeps you using your mind. For some people, you've got a hobby, maybe something that you really enjoy doing and you love to talk about it and you'd love for other people to learn how to do it as well. And that's another reason to create a podcast is you share your hobbies with people. I know many of you probably go onto YouTube and Facebook and you see all of these how-to videos that are available out there. And all of that, those videos are all just people like you and I, normal, everyday people, not stars, not important people, just people out there who have great information that they want to share, and they share it. And the whole world benefits from that. So yes, there's just so many reasons why a person could greatly benefit from having a podcast. And as I mentioned, if you want to learn more, if there is anyone out there who might be interested in creating a podcast, reach out to us, info@prconnectionsradio.com. And someone will get back to you, and we can discuss potentially some type of platform that you might have, some type of message that you might want to share on our particular platform. While we're waiting for our next guest to get backstage, we've got the Business of Giving show that's still coming up. And then we've got Ian Rakelli, who's going to be coming back with Vegas Hockey Hub, which is a show that I think you're all going to enjoy. As I mentioned earlier in the podcast, not being a huge hockey fan, I'm really, really enjoying learning more about the game as a result of watching these shows that Ian does on a regular basis. I'm learning a lot more about the strategy, about the systems of how, just getting an overall enjoyment of hockey at a higher level. So we're really appreciating all the good work that Ian Rakelli is doing with his podcast. We've got a few podcasts that are in the works right now, where, as I had mentioned before, we're constantly trying to develop new platforms to give information to people that is significant. And in the new year, we have several podcasts that we're going to be airing on the network. We have one called Crypto and Cash. And with Crypto and Cash, we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency, which is another new age vehicle that is helping a lot of people to attain a tremendous amount of wealth. Of course, cold hard cash is a part of life and always will be. And that's why we decided to call the podcast the Crypto and Cash Podcast. So it'll be a podcast. We have two very, very sharp guys. They're going to be offering different perspectives. One is going to come heavily, well, they're both actually pretty heavily involved in the crypto space. And then one of the presenters is also very deeply involved in real estate. So he's going to be offering perspectives on why real estate investment is a valuable tool to grow your wealth. And of course, we're in some interesting times with cryptocurrency. But I do feel that, and I think a lot of people feel that crypto is here to stay. And for those of you who might be looking for vehicles out there that you want to invest in to grow your wealth, the Crypto and Cash podcast is going to have some really cutting edge information for you. So stay tuned for the Crypto and Cash podcast. We've also got Mediation Around the Table. And that podcast is going to be presented by my good friend, Nancy Gabriel. And Nancy Gabriel is a mediator, and her show is all about the importance of fairness in negotiations. And so she's going to be bringing on people where she talks about the strategies that she uses to help people with mediation. And that can be mediation of a lot of different things. I think primarily most people think of mediation as being if a husband and a wife are getting, or a person and their spouse are getting divorced or something like that, where you have to mediate the terms of that, or maybe parents maybe have split up and they're mediating about their children. But there are actually a lot of different ways that a person can utilize a mediator. And so we're going to be covering that information, Mediation Around the Table. Nancy Gabriel is a great professional, someone who I've known for many years, who is absolutely passionate about what she does. So she's going to be sharing with you the value of using mediation in your life for different purposes. And then lastly, well, it's not the last show, but it's a show that I'm really proud of and looking forward to bringing to the air. And it's called Millennials in Politics. And Millennials in Politics is going to be a podcast that focuses on millennials being the key figure in politics in the coming years. As we know, the millennial generation is a large generation of people, and they are going to be the people who are running this country in not very long. So we want to create a podcast. We're working on it right now. It's in development, called Millennials in Politics. And it's going to allow millennials to express their political views via a podcast. We are going to have one podcast for the Republican Party, one podcast for the Democratic Party, two different shows. And then once every 6 months, we'll get both of the shows together, and we're going to do Millennials in Politics, the debate. And that we'll have a mediator, probably Nancy Gabriel, who will mediate this debate between the two political parties. So very excited about millennials and politics. We've got a couple of other shows that I'll talk to you about before we end this today. But hey, we've got our next two guests who are here. Carl DeMilig. How are you, Carl?
Oh, it's the best day of the year so far. How you doing, guy?
It is. It's the only day of the year so far.
That's why it's the best and the worst. Hopefully it will be the worst for the year.
Welcome to the PR Connections Marathon Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And
Marathon.
Carl, you are a part of an organization that I am also a part of called the Cause Marketing Chamber of Commerce. And we've developed a podcast that you've been working with me on for quite a while. Will you share with the audience what the Business of Giving is all about?
Yes, the Business of Giving is the name of a radio show that Guy and I host once every second Saturday of the month. No, not Saturday. I do that every second Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. UNLV, which is 91.5 if you're in Las Vegas, or you can go to their online website to find the radio channel. And that is where we interview local business owners and charitable organization directors to find out who they are, what they're doing, and how they help both as business owners and nonprofit organizers, how they both support the community.
And what got you involved in the cause space, Carl?
It's hard to pinpoint any one thing. I just recall as a kid being involved in things that weren't always for my betterment, that I could have seen it as a child. Obviously, doing philanthropy is good for a child, but growing up when I would do fundraising, I think everyone has done this as a kid. They sell chocolates door to door to fundraise for their school. I was only incentivized because I got a free chocolate smelling Frisbee. But that's when I realized, I don't have to do something for me. I don't have to do something of tangible benefit, but just knowing that someone else is benefiting, I indirectly benefit, was just kind of part of how I grew up. And then as I got older, I got involved with other fundraising and fraternities with also their side of philanthropy. So it's just always been there in my life in the background. And when something good came along, I just tagged along and joined the mission, joined the cause.
And the Cause Marketing Chamber of Commerce is all about bringing businesses and nonprofit organizations together. From a business perspective, what are some of the benefits that you found because of your philanthropy?
It's another avenue of having a conversation with brand new people that I don't quite know how to connect with. Usually in public events, it's always, what's your name? What do you do? If those things don't work, and if you don't want it to look like you're flirting with them, you can't ask them what they do for fun. If they like long walks on the beach, then you switch to, what causes do you care about? Are you involved with any animal shelters, homeless things? And people usually light up when you ask them about that. The ones that don't light up, there's like a sadness behind the smile. So they still light up in their own way, but it's another avenue of conversation to bridge a gap between, a stranger that I don't want to be as strange anymore.
Yes, absolutely. Causes in business are just such an exciting opportunity. And us at the Chamber, we're really, really focused on helping people who are in business to understand, and others, by the way. We have a huge volunteerism aspect of the Cause Marketing Chamber as well. And so that's what the Business of Giving podcast is all about. And I'm going to remove myself, Carl, and I'll bring Don in and let you host the Business of Giving. Enjoy.
All right. Don, can you see and hear me okay?
I can hear you. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So it looks like we are going to begin 8 minutes early. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Did you stretch? Did you get your warm beverage? Because my voice is starting to go. All right. Well, then let's just get right into it. This is one of the many programs on this marathon. My name is Carl DeMilig, and I'll be hosting a segment which is part of the Business of Giving radio slash podcast. It's a radio show that we host. We, as in Guy Dawson and I, host every second Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. at UNLV Radio Show 91.5. And if you want to join on the internet to catch it, I don't know the website, but if you went to the UNLV Radio Show Rebel, UNLV 91.5, search that and you'll find us, and you can listen in live on our second Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. This is not obviously UNLV. This is in our own homes. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Dawn Fizzler. She is a Las Vegas local, and she's also an agent. So if it doesn't violate any international secrecy treaties or top secret clearances, what kind of agent are you?
I'm an insurance agent that specializes in business insurance, and go alma mater UNLV. They are my alma mater, and graduated from there. But mostly we do insurance for small businesses and individuals. And we try to connect people with what they don't know they need, because they don't know what they don't know, because they just don't know. And we educate them.
Yeah, because there are so many. When I used to watch TV, there's commercials, there's a whole bunch of different companies, there's billboards, and I wouldn't know where to start. I'd find it overwhelming. And is that one of the reasons why you have this agent title?
Yeah, I have my agent title. I'm an LUTCF. I have a couple of designations under my wings. And you're right. When you see all the glitz on TV, it is name recognition. However, when you're making that phone call, you're acting as your own agent, which can be very deadly, because if you don't know what you're supposed to ask, you won't get what you really need.
That sounds like the equivalent of going to traffic court and trying to defend myself. Is this something you'd recommend everyone do for those who do need insurance, that if they don't know the ropes, have someone else who knows how to do it?
Yeah, because most people try to compare what they call a declaration page, and it nothing more than a Reader's Digest version of what your policy is. If you ask any good attorney, any personal injury attorney, any attorney, and ask them directly, is this good? They're going to say, let me see the whole policy. That's why there's 127 pages behind the deck page, because the deck page only gives you a summary. They can look the same, but not drive the same. My analogy is it has 4 tires, a wheel, and it's red. Did I just describe a pickup truck, a Ferrari, or did I give you a Fiat?
I like that word you used, Fiat. Actually, I don't like that word, but nice. I like the play on words there.
Exactly. And that's where most people are not understanding, that there is a lot more to giving a description. Is it an 8-cylinder or 4-cylinder? I just describe pretty much any vehicle, including a semi-truck or a home tractor, and they're not all the same. They're not all functioning the same. They don't do the same thing.
Right, because the numbers are just the exchange side, but what it means is in the other 100 pages, right?
Exactly. And most people don't even sit down and read the whole packet that comes, because it is written in legalese or insuranceese. But more importantly, there's endorsements that are added on or not on. And each one of those endorsements can make a massive difference to your life when a house burns down.
Could you define endorsement?
Endorsement, they're riders. Most people hear the word, oh, it's a blanket rider. Well, not necessarily, because even blanket riders have some caveats to it, like how much coverage for somebody that has jewelry in their house. They really don't know till they look at it.
So could you define a rider?
A rider is adding on or taking off. It would be no different than me adding on coverage to a basic policy. Think of it as a sundae with just vanilla. And each endorsement is sprinkling on something, or an endorsement can remove something. Let's say you're allergic to nuts and you need to remove the nuts from your sundae because you can't tolerate them. So what happens is those endorsements, riders, they're one and the same, can add or detract from a policy.
Perfect. Okay. So if someone has a basic cookie cut policy
Yep.
and they need it modified, tailored, altered, they would use endorsements / riders to get exactly what they need.
Exactly. I've had people that have had one-of-a-kind pieces of artwork that are clients that have Italian marble sculptures from some of the classics. I have a gentleman with 184 paintings. 2 have been at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and one is a Judith Schechter, for any of those who know that particular artist. One of her paintings was in Harry Potter.
Wow. So that sounds like, yeah, obviously not a run-of-the-mill insurance policy for collectibles. Because, wow, okay. And let's see. So it sounds like already you're hinting at the fact that you can't price shop insurance.
Price shopping is one thing, but it shouldn't be everything. Remember, you're buying coverage. If I told you for $10,000 you can get a vehicle, I didn't tell you whether it was the Fiat or if it was the Lamborghini or the Mercedes. It's just a different value. And if people value shop, that's a big difference, because oftentimes, like with car insurance, to go from property damage of 50,000 to 100 is a grand total of $20 every 6 months to double your coverage.
Wow.
And $20 every 6 months is what? 3 Starbucks? 2 Starbucks? I mean, when you look at it from a materialistic standpoint, the difference in what you're getting is a much higher value, much better quality. We all can buy a cheap laptop for $125, and that would be nothing more than a Chromebook. But what if you need to have a whole lot more power and you need a terabyte? It's a computer, but it's not the same kind of computer.
Right. I like how you immediately switched it from price shop to value, because value doesn't have price as the forefront. It's reflected in the price, but are you getting what you want? Now let's work on the price versus, oh, you only got this much. It's hard to build up to. It's hard to, I guess I'm trying to say, it sounds like it's more difficult to build up to value at a dollar amount versus what do you value? And then someone has to make the money up to get it, like $20 every 6 months. It's like, you know what? I could squeeze out $20 every 6 months.
That's exactly the right, Carl. That's exactly the right analogy. Because I have people that have a ton of artwork that don't own a single firearm. I have a half a dozen people that have firearms and they don't own a single piece of art. I have people that have jewelry or collectibles. They are different things. They are different animals. I got people working from home. They have to have the right endorsement. Let's say they do taxes from home. They need to have the right endorsement on the policy to cover when that client comes over to pick up their tax return and they fall in the house. Were they there for the tax return, or were they there as a friend coming over for a barbecue?
Ooh, yeah, they're not a friend anymore. And they're not coming over for any more barbecues, if that's the case.
Exactly. And those are some of people go, oh, that's not going to happen. I've had cars drive through houses. I have had decks collapse with people on them. I have had homes still smoldering when I show up. So oftentimes, try to get an 800 number to show up when you have firemen tromping through your house. It's in smoke. You got your cat in a cat carrier and you are homeless. Try getting anyone to show up. We do. That's the difference we make.
Yeah, I hear a lot of, and I'm guilty of this too. I complain about having to have insurance, and that's not really the truth. I don't like having to pay for it, but I love having it. Oh my God. It's like, okay, I'm so glad I paid the extra $20 to get my double coverage.
Exactly.
You hope you never need it, but when you need it, you hope you got it.
Exactly.
Now, how would you get through to someone who has to choose, and I don't know if this is actually a real situation. I hope it's not. Like a brand new married couple that just got their, I guess, first apartment, expecting a child. Someone just got laid off, and they had to choose, I guess, some coverage or no coverage. And I guess this really comes down to it depends.
No, actually, I have actually dealt with this. I had somebody last year this time call me up and say, I have no food on my shelf. My cupboards are bare. Do I need to pay my car insurance or can I get food? And I said, don't worry about food. I'm going down to a food bank for you. I've ended up picking up 4 or 5 boxes of food for her just to get her by. I said, pay the car insurance because the DMV will cause you to have more cost long term. We changed their coverage to minimum. I said, we can deal with everything else, but once they make your car so the registration bounces, now you're looking at another $1,000 on top of the insurance, plus an SR22, plus my staff and I told my staff, hey, I'm running down to the food bank right now. I called a friend, picked up 4 or 5 boxes of food and delivered it to her house this time last year.
This has got to be the best example for shop local that I've ever heard. Because that person is dealing with someone on a person-to-person basis, not a big box. Oh, customer number 47,000. You know them by name, you know where they live, and you know where to get food for them at a local, whoever, doesn't matter. You got food for them. And that's not something agent number 412 was going to do for customer number 47,000.
And we got her a job.
Wow.
I ended up finding somebody down at Goodwill that was looking for administrative assistant. I called her. I dropped off the food. She's crying. I was crying. And we got her. I said, this lady needs an administrative assistant right now. Call her. So I handed her my phone. So she made the phone call, had the interview the next day, and landed a job the following day. And she had a car to go to work.
So not only shop local, shop Don Fizzler.
We do our best.
So it sounds like you go above and beyond. And if that's your best, it sounds like you need to one-up your game. I'm out of prime rib, Don. Could you?
Well, there are some cows up in southern Utah. Maybe they'd like to walk into your freezer.
Oh yeah, just as long as they don't crash through and cause a fire.
That would be considered on an auto claim. That's a comprehensive claim, and on a house claim, if that actually happened, would also be a comprehensive. It would be a claim.
Oh,
wild animals. Yeah.
Oh, so that's not necessarily a rider.
No, that's going to be covered under your auto insurance as a wild animal, and it is a comprehensive claim, not a collision claim.
What if it's not exactly wild? It's already finished its party years and it's settled down. Do they define wild as feral or?
Feral? Feral is actually the same thing. I actually had a client that was in the middle of the driving on the highway, and I got a call from the claims department. It's kind of funny. It says here he hit a bobcat. You mean one of the bobcats, like the digging thing? And I said, no, bobcat like kitty box. The rabbit cleared the car and he was doing 50, and the bobcat did not clear the front end of his car, and he had to roll over. He actually was able to walk away from it.
Wow!
But it was a pretty bad accident. But they thought he ran into a trailer with a bobcat on the back. He said,
wow.
No, meow.
Grr. Wow. So we sort of touched on it already, and I want to get into it. You mentioned Goodwill already and the local food pantry. You've been in Vegas for a very long time. How have you participated in uplifting and building up this community that you don't mind sharing without bragging?
Well, when I was a kid, there was something called the walk-a-thon here in town. You walk 20 miles and you'd end up getting people to sponsor you per mile. And so every year I did the Jerry Lewis walk-a-thon, the MDA. And that started off very young with me. I think probably was 12 or 13 years old. Wow. Then I moved on to the 4-H and used to sell advertising for their programs, and met some family men, if people are aware of Las Vegas history, met some family men, and very nice to me. I was only 12 or 14, and then moved on. And some of the stuff, 100 Women Who Care, I've been involved with. We find local 501c3s that are in need of funding, and we help fund them. We did actually Homes for Nevada Youth. That's one of those programs that's kind of near and dear to my heart. They have a boys' house and a girls' house. Most of these kids come from very bad backgrounds, or they've been in foster care. Most have drug issues, and they promote getting your GED or your high school diploma for both the boys' house and girls' house. It's intensive therapy to get them on the straight and narrow. And through help with 100 Women Who Care, we were able, they only have 18 kids in each house and 2 computers to do their schoolwork. So I nominated them for 100 Women Who Care, and they were chosen. They got $5,800, and I showed them a program where they could get new computers. So they got 10 computers in each house. So they could either get their GED or their high school diploma. And most of the kids' graduation rates went through the roof because each kid could have their own computer and didn't have to check it out.
Yeah, wow. That's like, I can imagine, but I don't want to imagine how badly this community would turn out if that didn't happen. But the fact
We've got some success stories, A gal was pregnant, had a kid while she was in it, and, got her GED. She walked for graduation just before her child was born.
Wow.
So it makes a difference in the community, one person at a time.
Oh, it does. And the stories that they will tell, and they're going to be, I would just assume they're going to be way more giving than someone who didn't have to go through as many struggles. I'm guessing on that, but it just reminds me of some videos where, or even old parable, I don't even know if that's the right word, but stories I heard growing up where if it hurts someone more to donate when they don't have much, which makes it mean more when someone has billions and they give away 50 cents, it's like, meaning, sure, okay, the meaning is individual, but it's more touching to the giver as well as the receiver if it hurts more. So
No, that makes perfect sense, Carl. Okay. In fact, the young lady who gave birth, my mom heard about it. She went out and bought her, onesies for the baby, diaper wipes, pretty much. She goes, I know what it was like not to have anything when my first child came along. She says, so she got her probably $150 worth of baby items, bottles and bottle brushes. And anybody that has a child knows how much that extra cost is. And Carl, you're right. When you give more, and my mom's a pensioner. And so, she went out and she goes, I know what it's like. And somebody that can help me, 60 something odd years ago, I'm paying it forward. So it doesn't have it does not paying it forward does not have a shelf life. It doesn't expire.
Yeah, it reminds me of a different parable. I'm sure it's in every culture out there, but it's something along the lines of the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is right now.
Exactly. And the thing is, my mom planted a seed with somebody, and, maybe somewhere down the line after this young lady gets older and gets more financially stable and she helps somebody else out. That's what giving is all about. It's not about sometimes money. It's about giving of time and caring. Thoughtfulness is what I call it. And being thoughtful about where some other person's perspective sits.
And you've not only been involved with our local community. When I spoke to you, when I first met you, you were involved in some stuff on the other side of the planet. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. Both my boys were adopted from Ukraine, so I have a near and dear heart what's going on over there. And some of the unfortunate situation that's happening where over 200,000 children have been missing. Some of the orphanages have been drained. They don't know where the children are. From what we know is they are getting shipped back to Russia. So we're taking an entire generation. The people are warm, friendly. Of course, some of the small town that I was in where my children came from, Poltava, is a very small place. And having 300 kids all of a sudden vanishing out of orphanages and just gone. Where did they go? That's happening in other regions throughout Ukraine. And they will freeze to death with having no power.
So I don't know what's going on too much. I only know what I happen to catch on TV. Do you know any more or better? No better than what's being shown on TV? What's going on?
Lots going on. There is a lot of infrastructures being struck. And most of the orphans in these orphanages, they have either family members that have other issues, drug, alcohol, mental illness. But a lot of times they just can't feed them. So they'll put them into orphanages, sometimes take them back out, put them back in. It's because of the family's financial situation. And as cold as it is over there, when we were there, it was minus 13, minus 15 degrees Celsius, which is very, very cold. You can see your breath in the orphanages. And that is, 3-4 feet of snow outside. Most of the kids are dressed with hand-me-downs that have been sewn 6 different ways from Sunday. It's kind of the Joseph tattered cloak kind of things. I mean, they have sweaters that are sewn with patches of anything from burlap to canvas.
Wow. So how could, if someone here wanted to participate in helping, is there a way to safely do that?
Yeah, there's a gentleman called Johnny FD. You can find him on YouTube. And he actually has a fund that is funding. It's great that a large place is donating. But this is donating to individuals who are individually going out, feeding pensioners, helping right now there's a person there that her husband is a welder. They're using pieces of tank to make stoves, wood burning stoves, in order so people don't freeze to death, but they have to get the gas. So he's helped funding getting the gas in order to make small stoves that you can heat one room that's a 10 by 10 room and cram all 12 family members into that room to keep warm so they don't freeze to death. So Johnny FD, he has a GoFundMe page that he actually pretty transparent about where the money's going, how it's getting used, what people are using it to buy food, bringing it in behind lines where people are still getting shelled and bombed and coming into small communities. And some of these small communities are like the size of Boulder City. They're small, tiny villages.
Wow. And yeah, you mentioned 300 orphans, and a population that small is really noticeable. I mean, it's not like the big city where 300 people that you've probably never seen, but in Boulder City, if 300 kids were missing, I think everyone would notice that.
And that's just it. They are missing.
Yeah. Man. So I guess let's go back locally. So you mentioned, what is it? 10 women, the 10 mothers.
No, 100 women who care.
Oh, I was off by a little. 100.
100 women who care. We have a quarterly meeting, and you can nominate a business or 501c3, everything from autism to kids. There was I cannot remember. I wish I could plug them. They were an organization. Most people think of, okay, it's kids. But when you have an autistic kid that all of a sudden ages out of the school district, they lose all their friends. They lose all their sense of community that they have, especially nonverbal kids. How are these parents going to cope with kids that are nonverbal, behavioral issues that prevent them from taking them to a normal park, prevent them from taking them to a normal store where too much stimulus causes them to behave in such a what we would consider a negative way, but it's the best way that child can cope. So they have programs, but they're very small and they're not funded. For these parents, they have no resources. They help with those resources.
So how would people connect with the 100 Women?
You can find us online, 100 Women Who Care, or they can send me a quick email and I'll get them caught up with the leadership. Just send an email to Dawn at IInsureForYou.com. It's my website. And by doing so, just put down 100 Women Who Care, and we will get you in contact with the leadership for that. It is a 501c3.
So early in COVID, we meaning the Cause Marketing Chamber, had a give back where we gave food to, I think, 400 different families. They lined up outside of Cannery Row, which I was just surprised at the number. But earlier you mentioned that you helped out that client by getting food. Was that through one of our? Was there a particular name of that one?
I happened to go on Facebook. I didn't know what I was doing, but then I ended up finding out that one of my contacts, partially through Cause Marketing, partially through Spark, was actually a pastor who was having a food drive. I told him the situation. He says, "Come by. I'll save you a few boxes." He loaded up the back of my Toyota, and I drove it over to her house. I mean, we're talking like 20 pounds of, probably 80 pounds of food.
Wow.
And, it was enough to get her by. She got a job. We were able to get her a job through Goodwill. So sometimes those things happen.
Yeah, is your Toyota red with 4 tires?
No, it is not red. If it was going to be red, it would be a Porsche 911.
Okay, and hopefully at least one cup holder for your coffee. You'd hate to spill that in that car.
Oh, no, there's no drinks in that car.
So you'd have to have a special rider that says, well, we're not going to insure coffee stains because there will not be coffee in my order.
There will be no coffee. Yes.
Now, I was also curious, for those people who have never gone to a personal agent for their insurance needs, what should they expect when they reach out to you versus when they call a big box 1-800 number?
The 1-800 numbers, there's a couple things that you just need to be cognitive of. And 1-800 numbers, you are acting as your own agent. So knowing the right questions to ask is part of it. So if we have somebody call us and they're a business client and they don't know what to ask because they have no background in it. So it's a doctor asking questions, how many miles are you going to be driving in a year? They normally don't get to ask that question. Is anybody else living with you in your house? Who else is driving the car? Who might drive the car? Is Uncle Tom coming over every other week borrowing your car because he has a side hustle as a landscaper? So all of those questions need to be answered. But more importantly, what you can do to keep your rate down, even in business insurance. A lot of business owners, I ask them the following question, and they will look at you like they have no idea what you're asking. The first question I'll say is, do you have this as a LLC? And what entity do you have? And they won't even know what I'm talking about. LLC, INC, sole proprietorship, because all of those get insured differently.
I'm glad you're getting into this because since the global pandemic, a lot of people have discovered the side hustle, whether they're W-2 employees or entrepreneurs, and they have additional side businesses to assist. Is it treated any differently as a part-time business versus a full-time business? Obviously, locations would matter because it's a building versus home business.
Okay, that has like 6 answers to it, okay. And I'm going to try to give you the abridged version.
Should I narrow my question instead?
Nah, I can answer all of them pretty quick.
Okay.
So if you're working from your home and you have a side hustle, whether you clean windows or do taxes, you need to make sure that you have a rider on the house, an endorsement that covers that exposure for business exposure. If you've got a brick and mortar, or you're going out in the public and you have a brick and mortar, that brick and mortar store is going to have the general liability, and should have an endorsement, a rider that covers you for going out if you're a vendor at some organization. So let's say the Cause Marketing Chamber of Commerce has starting a new business, and you set up a table there. You want to make sure that that liability follows you to that table. You need to ask those questions. But if you call into an 800 number, well, I got general liability. Yeah, but does it cover you if you're a vendor? I don't know. Does it cover you if you cross state lines? I don't know. If you have somebody come over to your house and they trip and fall, is it going to cover you in the home? I don't know. You get 3 or 4 I don't knows. You just don't know because you don't know. So,
And that's why you would have someone send their declaration page and the 100+ pages to you. And then you can tell them this is good or this is insufficient.
Actually, I just recently did that for a bar owner here in town. He has 3 different bars. And so going through it, we were looking at some of the liabilities. And some places have some entertainment. Other ones don't have any entertainment. And not a single one on his whole policy even addressed the entertainment side, whether it was live music, pool tables, karaoke. They're all looked at differently. Food.
Oh, wow.
So when we got done with him, I said, this is what you've been paying for, but this is what your risks are. And him being very, very savvy and understanding and being in that business for a very long time, he's like, why don't I have coverage? And my answer was, I can't give you an answer. He says, that's why I want a local agent. That was his number one reason. He goes, I want somebody I can call, somebody who will pick up the phone, and somebody that will talk to me in English and not, lawyerese.
Perfect. It's funny, being an insurance agent, this last 30 minutes, I think that was the first time the word risk came up. And that's kind of that's really the definition of insurance, is offsetting the risk onto another party, which is the carriers you represent or are an agent of. So that way I don't have to sit here with $5 million doing nothing, just in case. I have heard a good case financially where, yeah, you could, instead of having insurance, have the cash sitting there ready for a case, but then your cash is just sitting there doing nothing. You might as well pay the extra $20 every 6 months while your money does other work for itself, for you.
Very true, Carl. Very true. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, that you are paying dollar for dollar. Insurance, you are not paying dollar for dollar. You're pooling your money with everybody else in the community in a collaborative effort. So everybody's putting in $10, just like those raffles that win $1,000 or a 50-50 pot. You're putting in your $10, saying, I hope I can walk away and never have an accident. And I'm putting in my $10 saying the same thing. But one of these days, odds are, whether you've caused the accident or I've caused the accident, it happens and my car is damaged or I'm damaged. How am I going to pay for MRI nowadays literally costs you about $2,400 cash. Pay the extra $10, not have to pay $2,400, and do something else with your money.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you that I was a bit shocked when I moved to Las Vegas from California and my insurance tripled before I did anything. It's like, wait a minute. I haven't had time to have an accident yet. It's like, no, but everyone else here has.
That's part of it. But, I've lived here since I've been very little. And Las Vegas is a melting pot. We can actually double when I was a kid, we would double our population. We'd go up 300,000 people due to a convention. Wow. So now you have twice as many cars on the road with people that are driving from wherever they come from. Overseas, New York, Florida, Chicago, California, Massachusetts, it doesn't matter. They all drive from where they come from, and they're in a foreign town.
Right. It's a bunch of craziness out here. It's almost as if there's wild cows driving red 4-tired cars trying to evade bobcats. It's in the middle of the regular road. It's like, just pay attention, put your phone down, drive, please.
And that's the thing, put your phone down, drive. I've years and years ago, I actually had somebody that had a phone and blew a red, and unfortunately 2 people perished. And those situations, those phone calls are very difficult to deal with, both the people that perished and the person that caused it. When you're dealing, that's the difference too, because you have people who care about you making that phone call. I've had a rollover accident I had a client that never worked the night shift. Second time he worked the night shift, going back home to Pahrump, had a rollover accident. He called me instead of his wife. And I had my staff call, one of my staff people were calling Highway Patrol because I got it out of him where he was at. And the other one was calling his wife to go meet up with him. And he called me. So I've had to deal with stuff like that. I've had people calling me, screaming and crying as the house is on fire. They got the cat out. And I'm trying to figure out who they are on the phone because they're so upset they can't even tell me their name.
Wow.
So, I end up dealing with people sometimes on their very worst day, and our job is to try to make it, take a deep breath. We're going to get through this. Can I find out who you are? Because sometimes, those phone calls, I'm on the point of contact. I'm that person that is trying to get them. All right, well, you had the accident. I know you've never had one. This is what you have to do by law. Don't admit guilt. Don't say anything. My gal's call Metro right now. You need to give them this. They need to give you that. Say nothing. Talk to the cop only. If they hit you or you hit them, don't get upset and don't have road rage.
So I believe we're about to wrap up. It is 4:30. And again, this is the best argument to have a local agent on your side who's known you, who's looked you in the eye, knows how you communicate, because Dawn can calm you down if she's your first point of contact, if you're her client, obviously. So, yeah. So do you have any closing thoughts, Dawn, how people can reach you, why they should shop Dawn physically?
How to shop Dawn. I have a very simple telephone number. It's 702-798-0888. And it's Dawn at insureforyou.com. If you look up my name, I think I occupy Dawn Fisler, Fisler. We occupy the first 8 pages of Google. So that's all organic. I have not bought that. But you've been able to find us on the web since I think 1994 or 5.
Wow. I'm sorry, this is just a random question. Do you have a logo? And if not, could you have a wild cow driving a car through a barbecue at someone's house?
That's great. I do have a logo, but it's a little bit different. It's actually my alma mater, UNLV's colors, which is rebel red and gray. So it's kind of the way that I had it established is us protecting you. And that's the first thing people see when they see it.
That is a little bit more serious than a cow without a driver's license.
Well, it is Las Vegas. I've insured dancers from all over. And so, you know what? When you grow up here, you have a different sense of, there are people too. And they have kids going to school just like you do.
Yeah.
And it is different. And thank you, Carl, for having me. I appreciate
Of course, while I'm drinking, taking a sip, I mean. I know we ran out of time, but I don't know how to end this. So thank you, Dawn, for being my guest, despite any technical difficulties you had off camera. Glad it worked out, and hopefully this is the last time you have tech issues for the year.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Guy and Carl. I really do appreciate this opportunity. Have yourself a
Hey,
wonderful new year.
thank you for sharing your spirit of giving and business with us today, Don. Great insurance information, and as well as the awareness that you shared when you talked about all of your philanthropic endeavors. I mean, that's what the Chamber of Commerce is all about, is really showing people that there's a bigger picture and that there's nothing wrong with being good to your fellow man and profitable at the same time.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. All right, you guys. So thank you so much for the Business of Giving podcast. And enjoy your new year. And we've got Ian Rakelly's going to come back. I'm going to remove you guys.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right. Ian Rakelly is back for another show. And I know you really brought it a little while ago with the NFL. Now you're going to talk to us about hockey. Tell me what Vegas Hockey Hub is all about.
Now, when it comes to Vegas Hockey Hub, it's about, giving people, not just in Vegas, but around the world, insight into the world of hockey here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I mean, people know about the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, they're the NHL team. We know what they're about. But most people don't know about the Henderson Silver Knights out there in AHL. A lot of people don't know that UNLV has a hockey team, UNLV Rebels Hockey, which I'm a huge supporter of. I love seeing what they're doing. And then they also have junior hockey. So in the United States Premier Hockey League, they have the Las Vegas Thunderbirds. So it's always exciting to see all the hockey that's here in Vegas. So that's really our goal with Vegas Hockey Hubs, to give people more insight and to be more aware to all the hockey that's here in Las Vegas.
It's amazing, Ian, to watch this city evolve into this sports town. And hockey has been so impactful because of the success of the Golden Knights and how they came right into the league. They went to the Stanley Cup their first season in the league. This town has just gone crazy over this team. And as you had mentioned, what it's done is it's nurtured an overall interest in hockey. So you have, like you mentioned, we've got the Silver Knights, the AHL team. You've talked about UNLV having a hockey team. It's been wonderful to watch hockey become a sport that is really followed closely in the middle of the desert. It couldn't be a place that's further away. We get snow, every 3 years, 5 years? We are not a cold weather city, but we really are embracing hockey.
Absolutely. If it wasn't for some guy named Wayne Gretzky being traded to the LA Kings back in 1988, you wouldn't have the Vegas Golden Knights, the San Jose Sharks, the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, Wayne Gretzky being traded to LA in 1988 really led to the boom of West Coast hockey. So,
yes, absolutely. Being from LA, we had the Kings, but yeah, next thing you knew, there were teams all up and down the coast of California. You're right. I never had thought about that. But that's why you are the sports expert and I am the novice. All right, I'm going to let you go, Ian. And here we go. Ian Rakelly with Vegas Hockey Hub.
and welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelly. Doing this marathon show for PR Connections Radio on New Year's Day 2023, there's been some exciting news that has come out of the Vegas Golden Knights. There have been some recalls. There have been people being sent up, people being sent down. But with it being a new year, with it being 2023, it has been decided here on Vegas Hockey Hub that there's a certain team in the NHL that is looking to make some moves. there's a team in the NHL that could be a trade partner for your Vegas Golden Knights. So on tonight's show here on Vegas Hockey Hub, I'm going to be explaining to you why the Vegas Golden Knights and the Toronto Maple Leafs should be a trade partner at the NHL trade deadline. Why I believe that you need to have Toronto and Vegas make a trade that will benefit both sides. Now, when you sit back and you watch the Vegas Golden Knights, all right, 25 wins on the year, 25, 12, and 2. This is a team that doesn't have a lot of glaring weaknesses from a 50,000-foot view. All right, when you study the Vegas Golden Knights and you watch the Vegas Golden Knights from a novice point of view, from a casual point of view, you're really not going to see many weaknesses on that team. You know, they're 25 and 12 and 2. They have the best record in the Western Conference. They are leading the Pacific Division. What do the Vegas Golden Knights need? What is one part that your Vegas Golden Knights really need? Well, the flip on that, what is something the Toronto Maple Leafs need? Because the Toronto Maple Leafs have the second best record in their division. If it wasn't for the Boston Bruins being in their division, Toronto would be the best. I mean, Toronto's done pretty solid. They have Austin Matthews. Last year, he put up record numbers out there in Toronto, nearly replicating it this year as their face of the franchise and their superstar. You also have Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares. You also have Morgan Riley, Jake Muzzin. There isn't much on the Vegas Golden Knights and or Toronto Maple Leafs that at the surface you would say is their weakness. But when you zoom in, when you actually stop and you replay the footage and you go back and you actually study Toronto, when you go back and you study Vegas, there is a weakness in Toronto that Vegas can help them with. And there is a weakness here in Vegas that Toronto can fix. The weakness in the Vegas Golden Knights system at this present moment is they do not have a lot of cap space. The Vegas Golden Knights have the highest salary cap out of any team in the NHL. They spend more money. Their payroll is more than most teams in the NHL are. All right. When it comes to Bill Foley, he has committed all the way to winning a championship, and he is going to spend $95, $100 million. It doesn't matter what it is. Bill Foley is going to spend his money to win a championship here in Vegas. But the downside to having the highest payroll in hockey is that if you have free agents the next offseason, you're not going to be able to bring all them back. If you have a young goalie who you're only paying $700,000 and he's going to get an extension sometime down the future, you're not going to be able to pay it. And in the sake of Jonathan Marchessault, who is the franchise leader in so many categories, when he becomes a free agent soon, are you going to be able to afford him back? Are you going to be able to bring back the guy who has been your day one asset? Now, with Toronto, their situation is different. The Toronto Maple Leafs have actually been able to clear up a certain amount of room thanks to moves they have made in the last couple of years. Yes, they signed John Tavares. They extended Austin Matthews, and he's going to get a nice extension soon, no doubt about it. But you also end up in a situation where the Toronto Maple Leafs have a player that they can move. They have a player that, you know what, they are currently at $88 million. The Golden Knights are at $98 million. We can make a swap, and it'll benefit both sides. So my idea for the Toronto Maple Leafs, to be a trade partner of your Vegas Golden Knights, my idea is they have a goalie problem. The weakness for the Toronto Maple Leafs is that they do not have a solid number one goaltender. They do not have someone that can end up being their face of the net out there in Toronto. Matt Murray, he was a 2-time Stanley Cup champion in Pittsburgh, but that was almost a decade ago. I mean, that was around 2015, 2016. We are in 2023. Ilya Samsonov, the guy they signed over from the Washington Capitals, he has unfortunately not developed into a superstar goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So when you have a situation like that where the Vegas Golden Knights, they have too many goalies on payroll, and the Toronto Maple Leafs need a goalie. Well, that can be the trade chip that the Toronto Maple Leafs get from Vegas. Vegas can give up the $5 million salary of Robin Lehner in that deal. Or they can sacrifice Laurent Brisebois and his $1.2 million that are currently being buried in AHL with the Henderson Silver Knights. Or if the Vegas Golden Knights really wanted to, Aiden Hill has been a solid backup for Vegas, but he is not an absolute. He does not have to be a guy who's going to be here long term. So that would be the trade chip that the Toronto Maple Leafs would need. They need goaltending. The Vegas Golden Knights have 4 goaltenders on payroll. They can get rid of one. Now, what do the Vegas Golden Knights have a weakness on? What is the one aspect that the Vegas Golden Knights, unfortunately, are trying to get themselves out of? Well, it's the fact that your Vegas Golden Knights, they unfortunately do not have depth on their bottom 6. The Vegas Golden Knights are looking to add some more depth to that part of their game. Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs actually have players on their bottom 6 that the Vegas Golden Knights need. I'll give you an example. With the Toronto Maple Leafs, Calle Jarnkrok, who is 31 years old, he's under payroll until 2026. I mean, this is a guy who would be a solid center out there for the Vegas Golden Knights. How about someone like Wayne Simmons, who's only making $900,000? He is a veteran in the NHL. He is a guy that could add to your bottom 6. Also, you have Joey Anderson. You have Dryden Hunt, who are both guys making $700,000 out there in the Toronto Maple Leafs. So a situation that I could see with the Vegas Golden Knights is that the Toronto Maple Leafs need goaltending, and the Vegas Golden Knights, due to all the injuries they have accumulated in 2022, I mean, 7 players on long-term IR, that's a very unfortunate situation with your Vegas Golden Knights. So what my trade proposal would be, the Vegas Golden Knights, they trade Robin Lehner. Right? They give up Robin Lehner his $5 million salary. They give him up to Toronto. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, they end up trading one of their bottom 6 forwards, for the sake of the argument, let's say Calle Jarnkrok. And they also give up, a second-round pick. Let's just say that. So a second-round pick, Calle Jarnkrok. The Vegas Golden Knights give up Robin Lehner and a 4th-round pick. In other words, you're pretty much swapping draft picks, and you are sacrificing a goalie in order to pick up a forward. Because that's the situation the Vegas Golden Knights have. They have too many goalies on payroll, and they can actually get rid of one in that trade deadline. Toronto, they need a goalie, and they can sacrifice their forwards. After all, they have 14 forwards currently on their active roster. Most teams only use 12 during a season. Now, since we're talking about trade partners and the possibility during the 2023 NHL trade deadline, there is one more move that could possibly be done with the Vegas Golden Knights, and that would be going from Toronto and going down to Chicago and talking to Chicago Blackhawks. Now, in Chicago, there is a guy named Max Domi. And Max Domi, for anyone who's a diehard hockey fan, not only was he the son of Ty Domi, who was a longtime enforcer in the NHL and was a legend in the 90s and early 2000s, but Max Domi has actually made himself a good name in the NHL. Max Domi, 27 years old. He's a center for the Chicago Blackhawks, currently on a 1-year deal worth $3 million out there in Chicago. This is the same Max Domi who has spent time in Arizona, Montreal, Columbus. This is his 4th team that Max Domi has been on in the last 3 years. So when it comes to Max Domi, he would be a low reward but a high risk type of situation. So you might be asking yourself, well, Ian Rakelli, host of Vegas Hockey Hub, here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, what would the Vegas Golden Knights need a Max Domi for? Well, when I give you his stat sheet, maybe it'll be a lot more clear. Max Domi, since making his debut in 2015, not only has he played 500 games in the NHL, but he has over 100 goals, near 350 points, and has racked up 400 penalty minutes in his career. Max Domi has been known notoriously for his very enforcer ways in the NHL. He's aggressive. He is someone that antagonizes the opposing team. Now, Vegas very much needs that on the bottom 6. Keegan Kolesar, William Carrier, those are solid guys. But the current bottom 6 for the Vegas Golden Knights is a lot of skilled wingers on that team. Jonas Raunbier, Jake Leskinen. You have these guys that are skilled, don't get me wrong, but they don't bring intensity to the bottom 6. They do not bring that mentality of, you know what, we're going to go and we're going to crash the net. And if we run into the goalie, hey, you know what, we run into the goalie. So Max Domi would bring some new and added intensity to that bottom 6 alongside Keegan Kolesar and alongside William Carrier, because once again, that's unfortunately due to all the injuries with the Vegas Golden Knights. They need now depth, very importantly, in their bottom 6. And Max Domi being a rental, only a 1-year deal, $3 million, I think if you asked Bill Foley and you ask him, would you be willing to add $3 million to the cap, but you win a Stanley Cup at the end of the year, would he do it? Absolutely, he would do it. Now, I would say that in order to get Max Domi, you would either have to send off a prospect or you would have to give up maybe a 5th round pick, a 4th round pick, something on that end for a Max Domi. So when talking about the trade deadline, the possible trade partners for the Vegas Golden Knights, that is a situation where out in Toronto, you could make a swap, a 1v1 or a 2v2 to add some depth to your bottom 6. You sacrifice a goalie. Or you go to Chicago and you sacrifice a prospect or you sacrifice a draft pick in order to get some added intensity to your bottom 6 and a guy who's been over 500 games into the NHL in Max Domi. There is a third option, though, that the Vegas Golden Knights could go after. There is an option that the Vegas Golden Knights could explore if they needed to. Now, I wouldn't recommend this option, but it is an option nonetheless. And that is the Vegas Golden Knights contact a team in their own division, and they request a 2-on-2 trade. Because once again, this is a show talking about what do Vegas have that is a strength and what do they have as a weakness. And how can they take their strength in numbers and add a weakness to their advantage. Now, the Edmonton Oilers, they have a situation where the Edmonton Oilers have the $91 million in cap space. They're around the same level as the Vegas Golden Knights. In fact, they are only 2 teams below the Vegas Golden Knights in cap space. The Edmonton Oilers also have 4 players on long-term IR, which is something, by the way, the Vegas Golden Knights have 7 at this current point. So what does Edmonton have that Vegas does not? Well, Edmonton, once again, there are players on their bottom 6 that the Vegas Golden Knights could go out and get. Now, the main difference in a trade like this is that the Vegas Golden Knights have defensemen, whereas the Edmonton Oilers could actually use another defenseman on their team. So in a trade like this, I actually would use something very different. Instead of just giving off a goaltender, or instead of trading a goalie that you already know that, you're not going to really need. You signed Stuart Skinner to a deal. You did all of that. Instead, what I would have done and what I would do is this. If you are the Edmonton Oilers, you ship out one of your forwards and you give back a defenseman in return. So the way that I would do it is like this. The Edmonton Oilers, they would trade defenseman Brett Kulak, who is 28 years old. 28-year-old defenseman, 2.75. And also you would give up a forward in Ryan McLeod, a 23-year-old. And the Vegas Golden Knights, in return, they would pretty much exchange, and they would give up in their own right. They would give up Michael Amadio, a 26-year-old center, and they would trade Ben Hutton. So you essentially would be swapping and making a deal with the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, once again, the reason why I mention this is because of what the Vegas Golden Knights need and what the Edmonton Oilers would need. Because when it comes to draft picks, the Vegas Golden Knights, they already made deals with Buffalo Sabres. They've already made deals earlier in the offseason, so they're going to try to save those draft picks. In terms of prospects, Brendan Brisson is your number one prospect. I don't think you're going to want to sacrifice him. Number 2 pick is Lucas Cormier, the 19-year-old in Henderson. He's doing pretty well at the moment. I don't think you're going to want to trade him off as well. You also have Caden Korzak, your number 3 prospect, who you just called up to the Vegas Golden Knights. By the way, congratulations to Caden Korzak on being called up to the NHL. Whereas when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, them being able to make some deals with their bottom 6 and their bottom defensive pairing, that is what I believe the Vegas Golden Knights could do. And I actually think this is what they're going to do out there with the Vegas Golden Knights. So heading into 2023 and talking about Vegas Hockey Hub and talking about the Vegas Golden Knights, but what's going on with the Henderson Silver Knights right now? What is going on in Henderson at the Dollar Loan Center, and what could we really be capitalizing on with the Henderson Silver Knights? Because Sheldon Rample, who is the points leader for the Henderson Silver Knights, he had a 1-game cup of coffee with the Vegas Golden Knights. He is now back in the AHL with Henderson. You have also had Braden Pahal, Giannis Raumbier. You have Pavel Dorfiev. I mean, there is a situation where the Vegas Golden Knights have some prospects in Henderson, but what does their schedule look like for the future? What does Henderson add in terms of value to the Vegas Golden Knights? Well, seeing their schedule for the month of January is actually a pretty good indicator of what you're going to see. Because the Henderson Silver Knights in the month of January, they are going to be taking on the San Diego Gulls of the Anaheim Ducks. So they're going to continue their series with the Anaheim Ducks, seeing some back and forth between a team that is in the dumps in the NHL and is developing talent in the AHL. You've also had their series with the San Jose Barracuda, who is the affiliate of the San Jose Sharks. And that is going to be a deal where the San Jose Sharks end up watching their talent take on the Vegas Golden Knights. There's a lot of divisional rivalries in the NHL that translates over to the AHL in minor league hockey. They're going to be having back-to-back series against the Abbotsford Canucks. If you guessed it, they're the minor league affiliate of the Vancouver Canucks. And then they will kind of capitalize and end off of that with a 3-game series against the LA Kings affiliate, Ontario Region, and the Calgary Flames affiliate and with the Calgary Wranglers. So what I've noticed and what I can appreciate about the Henderson Silver Knights is not only do they play in a state-of-the-art arena in the AHL at the Dollar Loan Center, which is a phenomenal arena, but you're also going to get the possibility and you're going to get the opportunity to go out and watch the best, and I mean the best, minor league hockey players in the AHL go up against each other. So I will say that if you're out there in Henderson right now, if you have a possibility of making the trip down to Henderson, I would say go to the Dollar Loan Center, watch the Henderson Silver Knights take on San Jose, take on Calgary, go up against Ontario, have a possibility of seeing some top prospects in the NHL compete at the Dollar Loan Center. And with UNLV Rebels hockey, I want to pivot to that for a second. The UNLV Rebels hockey, they're currently on a little bit of a break because of the winter break. Now they're going to be back. They're going to be at the City National Arena out there in downtown Summerlin. And their upcoming matchups with UNLV Rebels hockey, if you have the possibility of going and watching the UNLV Rebels hockey team, I would highly recommend doing so. In fact, their upcoming games with UNLV Rebels hockey, they are going to be at the City National Arena on January 27th and January 28th against the Oklahoma Sooners. So if you're a fan of Boomer Sooners, or if you're a fan of Oklahoma in general, they're going to have a 2-game series at City National Arena with UNLV. And then their final 2 homestands, February 10th, February 11th, they'll be taking on the Arizona Wildcats hockey team out there at the City National Arena. And then they will have their final series at home, February 24th and February 25th at City National Arena against Grand Canyon University. Now, if you want to watch the UNLV Rebels hockey team on the road, you can actually go onto their website, rebelhockey.com. They have all their social medias at UNLV Rebel Hockey. They're going to be on the road taking on University of Arizona, January 13th and 14th. You also will have, you have University of Arizona, 13th and 14th, Liberty University, January 20th and 21st. You have University of Utah, February 3rd and February 4th out in Salt Lake City. So that's a situation where UNLV hockey, they're going to be doing the schedule and all the things that are going on there. So when it comes to the UNLV Rebel hockey and everything that is going on, I would say go support UNLV, go support Henderson, and definitely watch the Vegas Golden Knights and everything that is going on. So I would say when it comes to, Vegas Hockey Hub and everything that is going on, I am very happy to talk about, the Vegas Golden Knights and everything. Now, when it comes to Vegas, there also is the high school teams as well. You have the Faith Lutheran and everything that's going on. So I will say to everyone watching around the world, go support all the teams out there in hockey. And with us doing the marathon show here on New Year's Day, I think that this has been fantastic. And Guy Dawson, I know you're going to be coming back, here doing the show. So I will say it. This has been a great marathon show here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. And this was, of course, Vegas Hockey Hub.
Hey, very well done as always, Ian. I love your enthusiasm and your knowledge of the inner workings of hockey. And boy, so here we are. We're headed into sort of the second half of the hockey season. Before I let you go, is there anything that we should be on the lookout for at the NHL level or AHL level?
I would say at the NHL level, it's the trade deadline, which will be a few weeks away. And at the AHL, you're going to be seeing the best prospects in all hockey being there. So it'd be fantastic.
Yes, well, we know you're going to keep us up to speed on what's going on in the world of hockey, Ian. Ian Rakelli is the host of Vegas Hockey Hub, as well as the Sports Angle. He's bringing that sports element to the network that we greatly appreciate. So tune in. Will you give the dates or the times again, your regular times? I know they may vary a little, Ian, but will you share with the audience your regular times for your 2 shows?
Of course. So Vegas Hockey Hub, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Once again, that is Monday through Friday for Vegas Hockey Hub, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then you also have the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern on Friday nights.
Yes, plenty of sports talk, lots of interaction, amazing guests that he has, guest host that he has with that show. So yes, tune in to Ian Rakelli. He is our sports broadcasting star here at PRConnectionsRadio.com. Keep up the great work, Ian.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I am going to wrap up this day. It has been quite a day. Let's see his banner. Vegas Hockey Hub banner, and I'm looking for it because there you go, Ian. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I hope that all of you have enjoyed this presentation of prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. And again, this marathon was designed to give you just a little taste of the amount of shows that we have on our network, the sense of community that we're building. And as I had mentioned, along with these regular shows that you watch today, all of them are regularly scheduled shows. We had others that did not appear, and we have a lot of new shows that we're working on. And what we're very focused on with this network is building a community of people out there who enjoy great content. And we know that you are that community. And again, my years in broadcasting have taught me a lot, and they have taught me that what builds a network, the way that we are able to keep bringing valuable, entertaining information to all of you is through all of you. And so I want to encourage everyone to share. Please share on YouTube, share on Facebook, wherever it is that you are watching this show. Please share it, because there's a lot of other people out there who will greatly enjoy something. We have something for everyone at prconnectionsradio.com. And so, yes, always share, always like, always subscribe, and stay tuned. Again, we have so much in the works. We're going to be keeping you updated regularly about all the new shows that we're bringing to the network, as well as the schedules of our existing shows. So, yeah, if you want great podcast material, you don't have to go any further. You can binge watch at prconnectionsradio.com. We hope you have enjoyed our marathon. We have certainly enjoyed bringing the marathon to all of you today. Have a happy New Year's Day and a prosperous new year. And we can't wait to see you out there for all these podcasts that we're going to be bringing in 2023. See you soon.